Good morning, everyone. Well, beautiful day in Kodiak. Spring is finally here, about a month late. Last couple days have been really hot. Today it's overcast, so it'll be a little more pleasant for us, but mid-70s I think yesterday, which is pretty blazing hot for us. So we're kind of happy for a bit of a reprieve from the heat. Getting some work done on the wave wall here. Just getting this, I guess, end piece on, this framing. Give it a trim up here, wrap the top. Got our internal framing going in. This is the hull stiffener that we actually used as a form for all our deck stringers. So just kind of reusing it. That was the plan from the get-go, and got a lot of mileage out of that stuff. Had enough for the top and one of the uprights, so we still need to pick up, I guess, about 15 more feet to fill in the rest. And that will pretty much do that part. And then, of course, just that very forward part where you can see the air up there, the sky, that will get covered too and enclosed, and the lower part too. So we'll have a nice area here that'll be watertight and wind proof, more or less, from that direction, which will be really nice to work in.
Yeah, it's coming together. It's been chipping away the last few days. Finally got some nice weather, like Dad said.
Yeah.
I think we're on our 4th sunny day now.
Yeah, just a whole multitude of different projects, I guess. Just kind of bouncing around on a few things. Getting this and that wrapped up. We got our hydraulic tank all secured in the other day and filled, so that was nice to get all these buckets of oil off the deck that have been kind of kicking around. We had them over on the side, they were out of the way there, but I think we've moved them about 5 times now.
That's
throughout
about right.
the course of this project, so it's nice to get that stuff in its final home. Got some work done in the rigging, huh, Matt?
Yeah, we got a lot of rigging work done. Finally got our last stay line replaced. The forward one there was a old rusty one, and we repurposed our side stay. You guys might recall there were a doubler on the sides. We found that unnecessary, and so we downsized that to one and restrung the fore and aft stays with the other stainless one that came off, and it worked out really good. We also moved them forward just a little bit here. You can see the old holes here, right there, and that opened up this hauling area right here entirely.
Yeah.
There was the aft.
So if you recall, there was
right there.
one here and one here, and came up, so that just really made this whole area right here unusable as far as having rail space. And this is the ideal spot to be hauling gear from, is to have your line coming off this corner, and this is your midships where you're able to pivot the boat easily, even if there's strain on the line. So it was really nice to get that stuff opened up. Got our I guess little
davit
here sticking out,
more or less.
Hang our snatch block off to pull our line through.
Just kind of working on that still. That line isn't the chosen suspension.
Yeah, you want something that's not going to stretch. So this will either be cable, or we might just put a piece of pipe down, and then there'll be one going forward too, which creates a triangle and makes it rigid, keeps it from moving.
We also got our antennas put back up. That wooden platform that we used for just managing and working up there is now down, and it's looking really clean. We took down our stabilizer poles temporarily. We have some work to do on them. They're laying here on the dock. The bottom here, as you guys can see, is pretty scabbed together, honestly. Not really sure what they had going on exactly, but this is where the bolt went in that pivots the pole outwards, and they just kind of had this little stub bolted in for whatever reason. We're not really sure of that.
I kind of feel like maybe they like made those mounts and that first piece, you know, on the boat, and then they just like slip the pole on there.
Yeah.
To, like, make it easy to, I don't know.
To bolt in or something. I don't really know. I think that'd be even harder, but
it's kind of a weird deal. I think
it's
we're kind of
weird.
leaning on doing something like we did with the fishtail. That's been really tried and true. We never had a bit of problem with the way that we set up the mounts on the fishtail right there.
Yeah, so what we have here is just our pole coming down and just a chunk of what looks like 2-inch pipe welded to the bottom of it with a couple of UHMW sleeves, and just the bolt goes through that. It's really smooth to tip out and provides a lot of bearing surface for that bolt too, so it'll never like wear through your aluminum, kind of like this one has. You can see it's kind of lumped up, shouldered up right there.
Yeah, those will get wallowed out, and
yeah,
just a lot of friction, metal on metal.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel it when you're bringing them in and out.
Yeah.
It's not a big thing, but these are heavier, and it's just a nice, clean way to do it. Those have been on there for 20 years. We've never had to do anything to them.
Yeah.
They don't require grease. They don't require maintenance. So we'll probably do something similar to that. Pretty easy. Just take out that stub and probably lob the corners off that pipe. Put in a couple of nice end plates. Weld a pipe on there. And that'll be done. I don't think that we're gonna probably reuse these mounts. They're pretty crusty anyways.
Yeah, these
we
guys.
clean them up and kind of use them, but part of the problem is that the orientation of the tabs is either in or it's out. That's not ideal for like putting the load straight down. It tends to stress it more and twist the rail. So we'll just come in with some straight ones, and plus you don't really want this stuff hanging outboard, and then if it's inboard, it's just taking up room where you want to pass through, where you want to walk through. So it's just cleaner if they're straight up and down. Other than that, working on this cutout today. Going to get some rails in the back here, start getting our rails on. Lots to do.
Yeah.
But
lots and lots coming along too. Checking some stuff off.
Yeah.
Which feels good.
All right, in the last video, you probably saw us cutting this out, and you may be wondering why. This is just an area that we can use to pull halibut through when we're longlining. It's kind of awkward just to have a flat rail like this and pull them overboard without having something for, you know, them to rest against, to lean against, to keep them from sliding back and forth. Similar to what we have going on the fishtail there. So made this one a little bit wider. I think it's 26 inches wide. This will just be a removable piece, so we can bring it in and out. We'll put a couple of flanges on both of these. This will get trimmed down, of course, so it'll fit. And when we're not longlining, we can just simply bolt it back into place. And to longline, we'll just pull it out and be ready to go. It does also make it really nice when we're in town to get on and off the boat. It's a lot easier to step on and off right here than over the top of this rail. So that's a pretty nice feature too. What else? So not a whole lot of work to do here. We'll just cap it off with some, probably some of this 3-inch like this. Bring in probably a piece like that so we have a flush edge shear. Cap the ends of these so they don't get full of junk. And then we'll just angle this down here. Then we'll have another piece coming in like that, so we'll have a nice shelf. And then we'll do the exact same on this one so they match, and 2 bolts on each side. Good to go.
Yeah.
Be nice and strong. We'll round all these off real nice, and then at some point we'll put just a stainless, some stainless round stock here that's also just a couple of bolts to remove They can stay there when we're long lining. The line won't be running through this, except we'll probably just drop it for big fish and just lift it out of the open face block that'll be mounted here. Can just grab it, throw it down here, then we can gaff big fish and bring them through easily. And so there won't be a lot of tension on that, but stainless will be fine. When it does wear, when it gets grooves in it, we just fire up the welder, fill them, and grind them down smooth again. So that'll be really nice. Perfect spot right here, perfect level for that. Should be really comfortable to haul gear. Got our panel in place. I got this wood primered up the other day. It's probably going to be good for now. Honestly, it's not worth putting a lot of work into this. Right now, at this moment, we may or may not come back and putty up some of these screw holes and paint it. We'll see. The gray is kind of nice. It still makes it a little bit brighter down here. It's not as dark as the black, but it's also won't reflect light off at night when we're driving, and so that's kind of important. So probably just kind of stick with this gray tone, see how it feels. Panels mounted, extra breakers are in. Look to the back side. Access is incredible. Maybe the only downfall is that you're on this weird entryway to the folks hole, but that kind of puts you down a bit lower too and makes it a little bit more comfortable to work on. So I'm just hooking up the positive and negative leads right now just to power this thing up, and we'll go from there. I just want to get a couple of things hooked up, a couple of the small systems like the steering, autopilot. So these are our main leads off our battery. So of course black is going to be negative, red is positive. This is disconnected right now. We have a big breaker switch down below, so we can go ahead and hook this up. This is a little bit temporary right now. I'm just going to kind of see how this looks and feels, opening and closing this. These are just some old leads. We'll put some heavier ones on there because there's going to be a substantial amount of stuff coming off this panel, so we want to make sure that we size our wires properly, and these ones are too small for it. But it's good for now. Negative terminal, this is a ground, negative ground. These are linked together off one. So we've got our ground coming into this bus bar here, jumpers over to this one for this other side of the gauges, and the yellow one right here are the negative side for the LED indicator lights on the other side of the panel, and then the red of course is the positive side. So that's all hooked up. If you see where the reds go, they come over here to the load side, so when you turn the switch on it activates the light, the LED, otherwise they'll be off. Let's go flip the switch and see what happens, huh? Mm-hmm. So it's always good to have like a really big heavy breaker as close to your batteries as you can. It's a Blue Seas circuit breaker switch, so you can push the disconnect and it breaks the contact, opens it. So it's good to have that protection, because if anything ever happens upstream of that, it's gonna throw that breaker down there close to your battery and hopefully prevent all the stuff from burning back, because if these start to light up, that's a lot of conductive filament there that will get red hot and certainly burn stuff up. And then this also has a 100 amp breaker right there on the DC main, and so this needs to be toggled on in order to power everything up. You do have power, so there's a little indicator. If we have that on 2, we shouldn't have anything. Flip it to 1, there we go.
Nice.
So that's kind of a nice thing right there. We have 2 battery banks on here now. Well, technically we have 3 because this is kind of our emergency communications. We need a 3-hour battery that can basically supply our communication devices in case you have like a complete power failure for your other house batteries or whatever. You could still call the Coast Guard and get help. So this is hooked up to one of our VHF radios and a GPS because you kind of need to have both. It's good to have both. And be able nice to know your position. So we can toggle between those 3 just very quickly and see if anything's low. We usually just keep like our GPS. Also has a voltmeter, which is handy. We pretty much just keep it on that anyways. This one's a little bit different. It's a newer model. It doesn't seem to be as user-friendly to me, quite honestly. But maybe I can change one of these windows to include the position lat and long. I haven't really fiddled with it much, other than just coming up here and just kind of like looking at it quickly. So cool. There we go, folks. Just kind of a quick overview there. So yeah, all of these are backlit once that other leads are hooked up. And then it's got some labels in here. Anchor light, autopilot, bilge pump. We don't have a blower for anything. Maybe we'll hook a blower up one of these days for ventilation. What else we got? Radar. So it's kind of got some basic stuff here. Compass light, depth sounder, engine instruments. They don't have lights on those. I don't know if we'll put lights on them. Probably get a new gauge set at some point. There's Matt's mock-up right there. So, sorry Detroit Diesel guys, but the old panel is gone because we kind of need to get all these gauges in a nice small area where it's more concise and not be a big mess. So maybe at some point we'll update our gauge set. Kind of thought a little bit about digital versus analog. Could have done the same thing with this, digital versus analog. I'm kind of on the fence about that. The digital is nice. I think it was a lot more on this. I don't remember if the gauges were a lot more expensive. I don't know. I guess you can look down here and see where it's at. I like both.
I'm sure we'll like go into it more once we repower this thing and figure out the pros and cons at that time.
Right. Well, with a repower, you're just going to get the gauge set that comes with whatever. Like if it's a John Deere or something, they have the gauge set. But